Welcome back to another talk with Arthur Bashan and Phillip on Outside the Church Walls. Mm-hmm. If you've been listening for a few weeks, you're like, that's not their voice, because that would be rough for 30 minutes.
For real.
But today we're going to be getting a little rough, if you know what I mean. Like, if you ever played the game of golf, sometimes you always want to hit the fairway, but sometimes you hit in the rough, and it gets a little rough, or sometimes it's OB, out of bounds. Well, today we're going out of bounds. And what I mean by that is we're going to be talking about things that we struggle with. We're going to be a little bit honest with ourselves. Arthur, I'm going to ask for you to be full honest. So here's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask you to grab a sledgehammer. You got it?
Ready.
I want you to knock that wall down.
Done.
That was great. That was a short wall. He doesn't have a high wall. He has a short wall. I need a little bit of TNT to put in there and blow it up. And so
short wall for short man.
Because we're going to try to get honest.
Yes.
We're trying to get honest. And so to get honest, just to kind of set the stage, honesty. Arthur, it's time for a snack. And you forget the cheat meal. Forget all that. You are just going to say, you know what, I'm eating this, and I don't care.
And I want it raw. And I want it twice.
What are you eating?
Chick-fil-A.
Wow, that's where you're going to go to.
Yeah.
Okay. Not like a sweet, not like a snack, not like you just said Chick-fil-A.
Nope. 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches, 2 large fries, and maybe a drink.
Wow, what would you be your drink?
If I had to get one, Sunjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's cool to say now. It's not Arnold Palmer anymore. Shout out to everybody with AP.
That's right. Well, instead of getting that honest, I would like a different type of honest.
Okay.
I want you to talk about what we're struggling with.
Ooh.
Because I think sometimes people can look at all of us, and just we can look at people and go, man, they don't struggle.
They have it all figured out.
Yeah, but the truth is, we do not.
No.
We are the farthest thing from it.
No, we don't have all the answers.
And so, Arthur,
we struggle a lot.
Yeah, like what's on your mind? What have you been struggling with recently?
Well, for me, I think what I've been struggling with recently and still kind of always have has been this like imposter syndrome. So for me, it's like when I hear people are haters of me, you know, everybody talks about everybody has their haters.
Yep.
I always tell my haters, get in line, because guess what? I'm my worst, harshest critic. It's like I will beat them at saying anything about myself that I could do better at. It happens with the podcast. And I always think about, man, I could have said this better, or I could have done this better, or I could have, like, you know, I harshly critique myself. Or it's even with things at work, like, oh, I could have done this better with this project, or I could have done, or even like with real life interactions, like always think, maybe I just could have been more loving, or could have been more patient. Like I struggle with that. I tend to dwell too much sometimes on the what ifs.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is like what I've seen is God's been helping me a lot through that, because he's been giving me people to kind of pour great encouragement, like positive notes into me. And like people are saying, you're doing such a great job. I love hearing the podcast. You do such great work at work. Oh my gosh, you have a way about speaking. Like, I love your voice. And I'm like, that's so weird, because I don't see any of that. But it's so warming to feel that. But that's what I struggle with on a daily basis, is beating myself up, being my harshest critic, when in reality, I think we're doing...
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because... I think several factors. Number one is because growing up, I grew up in a household where I was always taught to do better and never exactly always heard that, oh, you're doing great. And so if I didn't get enough of that, I was always defeating myself, because I was always hearing these defeating things.
Yeah.
And I don't think my parents meant it in that type of way. I think it's cultural. I think my parents mean well and they love me, but they always pushed me to do better. Yeah. But on the other side, when you're a kid, you're just like, I just want to hear one good thing. What is it that I'm doing that's
so
right?
So it was like you had to hit this next high.
Yeah.
This next.
Yeah, I was always chasing the next high in life. And so like even in school, like if I got 90s, they're like, you could have got hundreds. If I got, you know what I mean? If I got close to perfect attendance, you should have been there on your sick days. And so like, but it was always like, and so like, I think that translated to an adult. Now I'm an adult and I think, wow, like I defeat myself a lot, but I'm doing better now because I'm like thinking like, nah, that was good. That was great. And I'm telling myself like, no, there's no way that it could have been better, because if I prayed ahead of time for God's result, and if I prepared, then guess what? It went the way it should have went. Yep. And so I do struggle with that. Quick number 2 that I struggle with sometimes, and I told this on the mental health episode. If you haven't seen the mental health episode, make sure you check that out. But I struggle with being a controlling person. I don't like being controlling, but I love knowing the end result, the end outcome of things. And when things unexpectedly happen, it takes me a while to kind of adapt, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was expecting this person to do this or meet up with me at this, and all of a sudden, if they don't, it's like, oh, like, it's thrown me off, like mentally. Like, I'm just like, why? And
so
I'm
if we scheduled a plan together and I canceled on you.
And for no reason, yes, I'm taking it bad.
Ooh,
I'm taking it bad. Yeah. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
do you think that's because I think I don't care about you? You take it as that way? Like if I...
No, let's go deeper. I can go deeper with you. I think it has to do with the fact when I was young, I think I had limited friends around me. When I'm talking, when I'm saying young, I'm talking like grade school, like first, second, third grade. I wasn't like a popular kid in school during those years. It was like high and by. And so like, I know the feeling of what it is to feel kind of like as ostracized maybe, or just feel like an outcast maybe. And so like whenever I feel like that somebody cancels on me for no reason or just kind of like throw stuff out of whack, I think that kind of messes with me too. So yeah. Pretty deep.
I mean, what do you do with that?
I mean, what do I do with that? I mean, well, I think of it now as like everybody is not out to get me, I guess you could say. Like, first of all, like everybody has a life. You know what I mean? Everybody's an adult and we all have things that we're working towards. And so I know that it's not anything personal. And I know that I'm going to be that same way to someone too, unexpectedly. Right. And so like, I think, just being that grace loving Christ follower that I know we talk about this verse all the time, 2 Corinthians 5:17, I'm a new creation. And so everything that happened back then, I'm glad it happened back then because today I'm somebody new. So like, I think it's just constantly reminding yourself. It's hard to remind yourself if you're always going to be stuck in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, you say like those things. What is something that right now is kind of like breaking your heart? Like if you were to think.
Well, okay. This kind of breaks my heart because it doesn't necessarily have to do with me, but it has to do with others. Yeah. Okay. So like, I'm not so much me focused as I am with others now, which I'm grateful for. I think community has helped me kind of get outside of my shell. But one of the things that really kind of pains me is like seeing people go through pain. And it's like I want to give them that quick, easy pill. Like here's the verses, here's the prayers, pray with me. Let me hang out with you. Let's get through this. But I think there's a lot of rush. And I think in that there's a lot of me trying to be Jesus, and I know I'm not Jesus, and I know that Jesus has a plan and a purpose for every single person, and so that journey of pain for everyone is going to look different. Some of it might be shorter for others, and some of it might be longer for others, but I just need to be that patient, loving friend. I mean, 1 Corinthians says, love is patient, love is not in a hurry. So I'm reading this real good book right now by John Mark Comer, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And so it's helping me understand like everything has a timeline.
That's great.
So love has a speed.
Love has a speed.
That's right. And it's not fast. And it's not the hustle and bustle of America. Love is patient. And you know what? When you were talking about that shirt earlier, there's an interesting saying on the island. People say, I'm on island time. And I'm like, I had never heard of it before, but I asked and they were like, that means I'm not in a rush. And so there's a vibe when you're on an island. Everything's a little bit slower. Like you go out to eat. And you might not see that server for a good minute.
Really? Man.
Yeah, and so you're just like, hell.
Get your order in now.
Yeah, get your order in now. And so, like, because he's on island time and we're all on island time. So.
Do you wish you could, like, live in island time?
I think yes. I think there is a way. But I think, selfishly, I think all of us want to be involved in so much. All of us pack our calendars because we want to be productive. We want to do so much with our lives for the kingdom of God. We say that and we mean it. And we're not saying that as an excuse. But with that, I think a lot of us kind of run really quick. And so it is hard to be on island time and yet you want to impact the kingdom of God. I feel like it goes back to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. God has made everything beautiful in its time. I think there's a time for island time and I think there's a time for kingdom time.
Is kingdom time fast?
Kingdom time, I think it's not my time. I think it's kingdom time, meaning I think there is a speed where we have to be sometimes slow, where we sometimes have to be a little quicker than slow, and maybe sometimes where we need to be on cruise control, perhaps, depending what it may be. Cruise control would be maybe, hey, I have 5, 6 friends, and I want to make sure that I check in with them. Yeah. And so I have to be on cruise control to make sure that I'm checking with them maybe on a weekly basis and see how they're doing. And so, I don't think it's slow where it's like, I'll check in with you next month. Like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think, so let me ask you this. How are you managing those struggles? You talked about that, your struggles. What are you doing either to not allow them to run rampant in your life, or to just be like, because sometimes we're all guilty of this. We'll be like, man, I'm really wrestling with this. Mm-hmm. And wrestling, what we mean by that is we're not doing anything about it. And it's like, like I used to say that when I was at seminary. They'd be like, hey, Phillip, have you thought about, your view on Calvinism or Arminianism? Hey, Phillip, have you thought about your view of speaking in tongues? And I was like, I'm wrestling with that. And I wasn't wrestling. I was just a way to cop out. And so sometimes we say that in our struggles. We're like, oh, I'm wrestling with it, right now. I'm just really wrestling with this idea of not being in a hurry. Like, cool. Are you? Or actually doing something? So how are you handling your struggles, and what are you doing? Either are you like, is there an area where you're like, you know what, I'm working on this, there's other ones I'm not, or I'm actually working on all of them, or I'm working on none of them? What's going on?
Well, number one thing you should do that I do is not turn a blind eye to them. I think it's acknowledging, and I have acknowledged it. It's great. I finally pinpointed what it is I need to work on. And the other thing is not doing less of it, but doing more of those situations that kind of bring those results. So, like, for instance, like I talked about how I feel like I'm not more. Instead, I feel like I'm lesser than. Well, how about I get myself into more circles, get myself into more groups, get myself more into opportunities where I can lead and where I can speak, and I get more comfortable doing that. And I have, and it's gotten great, and it's gone good. Do I still mess up? Yes, it's okay, but I think I don't beat myself up that much anymore. I think it's gotten less and less and less and less, because it's like I also realize that the people that I admire and I look up to, I've heard those people say the exact same things. It's like I also go through a little bit of fright before speaking, or I also have, a way of talking that I didn't always used to talk this way. And so I know it's a journey. So I'm that helps me out a lot. Yeah. And then also on the other flip side, when it comes to seeing my friends go through pain and being a controlling person, I think it's helped a lot being able to lead a small group of, as I've told you. And I think it's helped a lot that I've been able to like be in more situations where I have been able to step in and help, but also recognizing that there's only so much that I can do, and there's more that Jesus can do. And I have to leave that room. So I think it's like in all your actions that you do and throughout the week, I think about, is Jesus leading you to do this, or is it my will that I'm trying to get known, trying to get the likes, trying to get, like, for instance, like I could tell you this really quickly. I had a chance to give 2 members from our group, I got a chance to send them over some Tiff Streets cookies.
Oh, great.
And I thought that would be a great idea. But then I thought, am I doing this for me, or am I doing this because this would be something great way to show like God's love? You know what I mean? And so I had to check myself. I'm like, okay, no, this is not just for me, because I know that I wouldn't normally just send somebody cookies. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's just
you can send me cookies anytime.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Do you like Tiff Streets?
I've had it once. I mean, actually, I've had it twice.
But you said it as if you're not a fan.
I think it's better than crumble cookie.
100%.
Crumble cookie, no, we'll stop.
Okay.
Crumble cookie, we'll just say no.
Okay, we'll just say no. But so where is your dessert place?
My dessert place?
Oh, cookie place.
Dessert place in general. You know what I do love? I'm guilty of. It's Cheesecake Factory.
Okay,
those like cheesecakes.
Let's put a cheat meal on the calendar for us to go there.
Dude, Cheesecake Factory is bomb.
You will know that you're a close friend of mine if I put a cheat meal on the calendar with you. That's right. A big dead giveaway.
Yeah, like one time Arthur, he talked about this earlier. Arthur loves 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches. We went out to Chick-fil-A, and when I saw him eat 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches, I remember I was like, 2? And I was like, dang, he's like just full on relaxing with me. That's right. It was like, I was like, we have arrived. So it was great.
No, it's great. And for those watching, we actually had 4th of July was yesterday. Yep. So I know once you see this, 4th of July will have gone and passed, but I had 4 burger patties yesterday, and so it was amazing.
Look at you.
It's amazing.
Top dog. Did you eat any hot dogs?
No hot dogs.
I feel like hot dog is the 4th of July. Like, I need to eat one. Like, I'm not a big hot dog guy.
I can see that.
Like, but it's like, but when it's 4th of July, I'm like, it's like 4th of July to me is like Toby Keith, hot dogs, and cannonball and pool.
Oh, wow.
Like, those are the things when I think of 4th of July, I'm like, I want to eat a hot dog. I want to listen to some Toby Keith. And I want to be able to jump in the pool and be like, cannonball.
Did you cannonball yesterday?
I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. I also wrestled a bunch of like
alligators.
Yeah. Some dudes in our church, and we just had a blast. It was great.
That's fun.
Yeah, 4th of July probably is going to be a long time from now, but it'll be okay.
That'll be fine.
Yeah. So, man, thank you so much for sharing that, Arthur, of like just where you're struggling.
But I wanted to ask you, because you're not getting off this easy.
Well, we'll see you next week. And, you know.
Phil.
No. Yes. What?
I know a great man of your theological stature probably doesn't struggle with much.
Never.
And I know a lot of people would be shocked to know that you struggle, but
no, I'm pretty much an open book now. Have kids, they open up your life.
Oh.
So when you open up kids, especially having daughters, I just cry all the time.
Healthy cries.
Healthy cries. Yeah.
I like that. Real Men Cry.
Real Men Cry, great song. Have you heard that song?
I have.
By
I don't know who sings it, but I heard
Noah Khan and I forget the other girl, but great song.
Hey,
yeah.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
We're not going to sing it.
Yeah, add it to the playlist. Yeah, I think so. For struggles for me right now, obviously one that we've talked about before is still the highs and lows of depression. I still have that comes in waves. But I was talking to a buddy last week, and I was telling him, I said, you know, like with me, it was where it was moment by moment.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it was like hour by hour.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of turning into week by week.
Wow.
And so I look forward to like month by month or year by year. Not that like, no, I'm not saying I want to have, this is my year of depression.
Right.
You know, like 2024, just a year of depression. You know, like, no, like, what I mean is like those highs and lows truly are like, where before it used to be so volatile, like it was just constant, and I didn't know if it was good or bad. And so now it's like, oh, I have a little bit more time to breathe.
Oh, do you?
A little bit more time to like heal. And so that's still a struggle. It just comes. And so like, you know,
what's been helping? Like you just said it's been getting a little bit easier. Like,
yeah,
what's been helping? That's
the right community is always huge. I've got some good group of men I surround myself with, and I just surround with my guys. Like I had a guys' night like the other week, and we just hung out. We did a pool party.
Yeah.
And so just grown men.
Yeah.
Just hanging out, and so doing that, being honest with people in my life, being accountable to them. And then also just, again, getting disciplined. And so watching what I'm watching, when I'm watching it, like also like what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, how much caffeine I'm intaking. Like those things do affect all that. And so being mindful of those things and just trying to not isolate so much. And isolation can be good. Like it's good sometimes to pull away. Yeah. But if that's all I do, we have a problem. And so, but also just, again, I've said this before, but time is huge. I hated that when I was going through, I've heard that so many times, like time will heal. And it's like, I'm like, get out of here.
Time doesn't heal.
You're like, get out of here. But the truth is it doesn't heal, but it does make things easier.
That's true.
And you get further away from something. And you're like, it's not that bad. And so I think, you know, for me, it's that. It's and closely with that, like, you know, something I've always struggled with in my life.
What's that?
I tend to get my worth from other things than Christ.
Like?
And so, like friends, I'm a big words of affirmation person.
Wow.
And so, you know, you talked about, you know, hearing things from your family or hearing things from coaches or people in your life. You know, I longed for that. And so, so when you don't get it, or you get a different side of it, it's hard. And so I catch myself wanting to say, you know, once I get this promotion, or once I get this level of status, or once I get this financial thing, or I can do whatever, or this person finally praises me, that's where I put my identity. And I've just struggled. I still struggle with that, where I'm wanting, it's pretty much pride. It's me sometimes wanting to be in a room and be the center of attention, and wanting the stories to be like the hero. And it's just real life. Like, it's just like, ooh, that's a thing that in therapy I've brought up multiple times. And just, you know, we're trying to realize we are not the hero, and we are not the center of attention. And so, trying to be honest about that with people and just, and removing myself from the situation.
Yeah.
And so it's hard.
Has there ever been a scenario where you've been in a room with like a bunch of other extroverts and center of attentions? Like, what happens to you there? Because it's like people are fighting for the attention, right?
It's not good.
It's not right. It's like the perfect storm, I'm guessing.
Yeah. That's when you see a lot of big personalities bump each other, and they just get into. I can think about previous situations and people that I still love, but we'd be in a room, and it would be like you start topping each other. You start wanting to. And so, but if you can get confident with yourself, which I'm trying to figure out how to do, be confident with who I am, then I can begin to allow other people, and just cherish them, view people, and
I think it's not that you're not confident. I think it's more like maybe there's moments where our confidence isn't at its highest. I think because when I think of you and I think of myself, we're certainly confident people in different situations, different scenarios, and so. But I think there's just some situations where we shy down or we quiet down based on the insecurity of the day, or based on the moment, what happened earlier that day. And I think maybe it's learning how to navigate through that as well. It's like sometimes we go into like the extremes and say, I'm just not confident. And it's just not true. It's just like we're just having a moment, or we're having a specific chapter where we don't feel confident, or we don't feel bold, or, it's not that we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater, as they say. Yeah. There's a saying like that. And so I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. But you talked about isolation. And so I know there's a lot of people who love being homebodies. Yep. Maybe they're introverted. Yep. I used to be that way. Yep. What's a way that you've kind of kept your isolation in check to say, okay, like I'm spending enough time on my own because I needed to recharge perhaps. Now I know I need to go. What is there any like signs to look out for when you're getting too much?
Yeah, for me, it's just if I just catch myself, I'm not surrounding myself with anybody, and I begin to not be as honest with people, or I begin to give those fake answers. Each of us know what those fake answers are. Your fake answers are different than my fake answers, and I think we can give those to other people. And be like, and we can begin to, the old joke that everybody's always like, everything's good, brother. The Lord has blessed us, or whatever. We start doing that stuff, and it's like, but we say that in our own words, and we can do that. And so for me, if I start pulling, I can just do it. I can just know when I'm pulling away, and each of us probably know that. And I know introverted people, but I'm like, hey, like, it's good to go hang out with other people. Yeah. It's good, and here's the thing: is one of my good buddies is very introverted, but he's with us all the time. But he's introverted, but like, and it's more he's just not going to be the extroverted, outgoing person, right? But he loves to be around people, and so he still does that. It's just good for the soul. It's good for your mind, and so, if you catch yourself like a big thing, like if you're in bed all the time, and you're like, well, that's just where I watch TV. I just watch TV in bed, and I just eat in bed, and I pick up fast food, and I do all that, like. Those are usually signs that, hey, something's else going on, I mean, not saying those things are bad. Like 2 nights ago, I just went and watched Netflix for the first time in a long time, and I'd stay up to like 1 a.m. But I just watched shows. But it was also like, I told my buddy, I was like, this is the first time I've done that in a long time. So actually it felt nice.
Yeah, but say you don't do stuff. Like every time I talk to you, you're doing something, meeting somebody, going somewhere, and so like
So for me, it was like an introverted. It was like I stayed in. I watched some movies. I watched Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh wow, good movie.
And so I rewatched that because the new one that came out, and I haven't seen the new one yet. And so,
is there a new one? Okay.
Yeah, there's a new one. He came out this year, and so I was like, let me rewatch 2, which I loved. So like I watched that. I watched a few other stuff that I was like, they're like 90-minute short films, but you're just like watching them, And so
back when movies were 90 minutes, of course. Right. Nowadays, it has to be 2 hours, right? It
has to be 2.
Minimum.
2.5. Come on, man. I'm not going to go to a movie for 90 minutes. Come on, man.
I'll catch that on Netflix.
Yeah, right? Seriously. So, those are just things that I see myself, struggling with the most in my life right now.
Is there anything that you think that you could do better?
Yeah, so my new challenge is to be disciplined. And so I've been doing that. It's only been 1 week.
When people say discipline, people think of like, I guess, rules. You have to say yes. You have to say no. I mean, for you, are you able to share like what are some areas in your life you're saying
I'm
yes
just trying to get so lust is also an issue in my life, and I'm trying to watch that. given and not to give into that, but also just like discipline in like how I spend my money, discipline with my finances. I can tell myself, ooh, I saved this much, but I know how much I really can save. And it's like, if I was actually disciplined, I'd be like, ooh, I could save this much. And being disciplined with that, but then also disciplined in what I'm eating, disciplined with, what I'm reading and actually intaking God's word.
Good.
So and for me right now, I think in the past I've been disciplined where I would have goals and I would make these goals, either too high and too lofty, or I would just make them an idol. And so like, oh, look what I did. And then I was just like, so I'm just like, for me right now, my heart is, hey, make wise choices.
Yeah.
Make the best choice.
Right.
It's okay if you give in here. It's okay if you give in there. Like, and so, but make the wise choice. And so like whether it comes to eating or finances or whatever. So yeah.
That's good. No, and I heard you say that with discipline, I guess it's more like a journey, right? It's not like it's going to be a one and done thing. Yeah. It's like, I think of that verse that says, and I'm blanking on the reference verse, but it's like, take up your cross daily. Not like take up your cross once and follow me, right? It's like,
it's a daily thing.
It's a daily walk. It's a daily journey. Yeah. It's like, it's going to be a journey. And so
I just try to think long term. Like I just try to think, and I've been in seasons of my life where I've thought, not very long, but I'm trying to think long term and be like, okay, like, hey, in 5 years, where do I want to be? In 2 years, where do I be? In 10 years, when I'm like 60, what do I want to do? Me and two other buddies, three other buddies actually, with the three of us, we all joked that like, we're like, man, we would love to be like 55 and at 55, we have a weekly golf game. That's awesome. Just like, that's our goal. It's like at 55, like, so, and, for me, that's in 20 or almost 19 years that we just want to have a weekly golf game and start scheduling it. And so like, okay, to do that, I need to have finances in the right place. I need to make sure that my body is able to do that at 55.
Right.
There's so many other things. And so you're thinking long-term so you can enjoy the things in the future. Yeah.
I said this on another podcast, but I said the big decisions that you make today were the small decisions of yesterday. And so a lot of it has to do with what you start doing today. It's going to affect your future.
Yep.
And so I think start today. You can always start today. That's the beautiful thing.
What's that rock quote? It's like, there's a difference between one day and day one.
Oh, I love that.
The Rock, I've seen The Rock say that, and it's just like, it's so good. Like we all were like, one day I'm gonna work out. And he's like, yeah, but day one. And just like just flip it.
I like that.
And just get yourself. And then you know what? If you go day one and you get to day 3 and you mess up, guess what? Day one. Just start over. It's okay.
It can be today. Day one can be your day of change.
Yeah.
It starts with one day.
Day one. That one day is day one.
Wow. That's so incredibly amazing.
Yep.
Phil, is there anything else that you want to share for the people?
No, man. I think where I'm at is just honesty. I would encourage anyone who's listening, like, find someone in your life, be honest with them. It feels so freeing when you can be honest and just struggle, and then they can push you more to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, do it.
That's so true. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you all got a little bit more of what it is of who we are. Yeah. Because we're definitely not perfect. We're far from perfect. We struggle, and as you learned today, we struggle with a lot. I would definitely ask you, keep us in your prayers, and thank you so much for listening today. We loved it as always, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.